So this is our laundry room. It's more like a laundry alcove. It's pathetic. So I came up with something that I think is a better use of the space, and it looks something like this. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how I'm going to bring my vision to life. And you can sit back and relax and enjoy and escape from whatever political, humanitarian, economical, or climate hellscape news that is currently occupying your feed. I have to relocate this plumbing because otherwise I'm going to have hoses running down the wall and it'll look like crap. This is actually one of the first major projects I've done in this house since we moved. The last house, I did a million projects and I completely gutted and pretty much remodeled the entire place. But this house, I haven't really done much yet. So it's good to knock the rust off a little bit and tackle something that involves just about everything. As you can see, my dust collection solution for cutting this drywall didn't really work out that great. But what are you going to do? The idea is to remove this chunk of drywall and then it'll give me access to the framing underneath so I can move all the plumbing and the electrical that I need to do in order to reposition the washer and dryer. So I had to shut off the main water supply so I could pull off the valves, which would allow me to get started on moving the plumbing. There's also a 110 outlet here and the plug for the dryer is down below. So I killed the power and pulled that all apart. And when that was all done, this is basically what it looked like. Now I'm not doing anything drastic really here with the plumbing. I'm just moving the supply lines further down the wall so that they can be obscured by the washer and dryer. The same goes with the drain line, which is this tall pipe that you see. So what I need to do is cut these black pipes. This is called ABS, and it stands for all but stuff. And no, that's not true, but it does kind of apply. So what I need to do is shorten the outlet pipe for the drain line just behind the P-trap, and then I can flip this sanitary tee around and put the arm on the other side of the wall. And here's a time lapse of me doing that with my dad standing directly in front of the camera, who happened to be in town completely unaware of its existence for most of the time. And then he must have thought to himself, you know what would make this even better is if I kicked the camera stand and so the camera wasn't even pointed at the action. That would make it really cool. And by the time I noticed it was pointed in the wrong direction, this is where I was at. So I moved the camera up out of the way, and I installed one of those recessed laundry boxes that connects the drain line and then also has the place for the supply lines, which is basically what I removed, but that one was old and damaged, so I got a new one. And then I could focus on installing the new water supply lines. I used 1/2-inch copper lines for this whole project. I'm not going to shame you if you use PEX. I don't care. Some of you guys may not even know the difference between the two, and that's okay. Basically, one's copper and one's made out of bendable plastic. I use copper, I use PEX. Sometimes I use a combination of the two. I'm not going to shame you. I'll leave that up to Scumbag Steve in the comments. And before you know it, here's how I ended the day. Where the old 110 outlet was, they were also using it as a junction box. So I ended up creating it as a junction box and then adding a secondary set of wire to move it down past where the water lines were. And I also moved the 220 line for the dryer there as well. So after verifying all was well with the water and the power, then it was just time to cut a new piece of drywall and get that installed in place before moving on to the next step. The next step is the absolute worst. If you look on the walls right here, you can see they have this really unique texture. I've never seen anything like it. It's the worst texture I've ever seen. It looks like somebody smeared drywall joint compound all over the walls and then tried to make it look like brick. So my fun task is trying to mask off to keep the dust down so that I can use a drywall sander and try and knock this texture off so that I can have a smooth finish, which is much easier said than done because this stuff is thick. Once I used the drywall sander to knock all the high spots down, then I came back with some joint compound and laid kind of a heavy coat on so that I could kind of skim coat it and fill in the low spots as best as possible and flatten it out as best I could. Now, I'm not going for perfection, and I'm only focusing on the top of the wall because my wife has a bold-ass design decision to cover it up with some wallpaper, and on the lower half, we're going to use some wainscoting. So that should save me a little bit of time and effort. The wainscoting is just a simple beadboard. You could pick it up at the local hardware store. They sell it in big panels, and all I did was cut it down. I just wanted it to be tall enough so that it went over top of my outlets that I have on the wall here. So I came up with kind of an arbitrary height and cut the panels down and got to installing them. Before I covered up the walls, my son and I spent some time decorating the walls underneath, just in case, the next person wants to find some beautiful artwork. Now, here you get a sense of exactly how bold my wife decided to go with this, and I gotta be honest, I was not a big fan. It's a dark, super floral, very busy, and when I started installing it, I did not really vibe with it at all. But I decided to trust her vision with it. It's what she wanted. And so we went with it, and the install was actually pretty easy. It's a pre-pasted wallpaper, so just lining up the graphics was the most important part, and using a laser level to keep everything straight was super helpful. So the next step was to paint the wainscoting, and we chose a color kind of drawn out of one of the elements of the wallpaper. And after painting it on the wall, I do have to say that I kind of like it. It's not what I would have originally went with. I would have tried to keep things light and bright, but I kind of like the dark and moody laundry room. My wife was right. I'll admit it. I was wrong. I'm sure it's not for everybody, but I think it matches the house well. I think it's fun, and I'm sick of all the white and gray that seems to be the trend of late, so I think this looks great. And after adding a bit of a chair rail at the top to kind of clean things up, I was ready to put the washer and dryer in place. Now, we picked up some new ones from Black Friday because our old ones were junk. So I plumbed up the washer and then got the dryer vent connected in the wall and then was ready to stack the dryer on top of the washing machine. And that left me this area to the side for storage. Now, the only problem was that there's a heat duct right in the floor where I want to put a cabinet. And rather than stacking the cabinet directly on top, I bought this. This is a diverter kit that allows you to run the heat duct out of a toe kick of a cabinet. So you seal it and screw it to the floor, and then you have this flex hose that connects to this bit, and this runs out the toe kick of your cabinet. So all I have to do is design and build a custom cabinet for this little space. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Well, for you it is, because you're just watching this video. For me, it took a couple days, which apparently I didn't film that much of because, well, probably because I've built a bunch of cabinets and I just figured I have plenty of footage, even though the editor side of me is like, why didn't you film that, you idiot? But anyway, I built it and I did include some pretty cool things, I think. With a small space like this, it's about optimization. So on the one side, I put a drying rack in a top drawer, and on the other side, I put a small pull-out ironing board because we have like one of those 6-footers and there's nowhere to put it and it's a constant pain in the ass. So I decided to just use a smaller one. You only use the end of it anyway. And I made some doors and drawer fronts out of some beautiful grain-matched walnut ply. So I got those all finished up with some wax oil finish. Then next I could add the hardware. And then bing bang boom, Hollywood magic, this place is done. Just a reminder in case you forgot all those minutes ago, here's what it looked like before, and here's what it looks like now. It has some really nice morning light that comes in through these wood slat blinds. And overall, I'm super happy with the way that it turned out. Even though I didn't think I was going to like the design, I actually really love it. And if you don't like it, well, tough shit. You don't got to live with it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.